let's continue our discussion for our last lesson for second quarter prelim. So we have the Philippine artists and their contribution to contemporary art. So basically, this is more an factual statement or factual concept. Kasi all of this person is contributed in the contemporary art. So there are not much explanation with regards to this lesson kasi I will be reading some of the person's work in contemporary art. So I want you to listen carefully kasi bakit? You have to identify in our examination, you have to identify a certain person pertaining to its contribution. So let's begin. So of course, let's begin with the order of national artists. So this Republic of the Philippines through the National Commission for Culture and the Arts or NCCA and the Culture of the Philippines or CCP established the Order of the National Artist Award or the Orden ng Pambansang Alagad ng Sining on April 27, 1972 under the Proclamation number 1001. Okay, just remember those, like for example, the synonym, the words that being, the order itself that being discussed in this slide. Just remember that one kasi basically I will be including that in our examination. So this kind of order of the national artist is pertaining to seek the honor or to seek to give honor to the Filipino individuals with outstanding share the cultural heritage and cultural identity of the country. So meaning to say, it is for the government itself to give the valuable efforts of the contribution of the different person in a certain Philippine arts. So, dyan nila pinapakita that those kind of contribution is very important to our country. Why? Because they give a certain award. Okay, so from the efforts of the person that giving the contribution or by the efforts of the artist, they can eventually know that the effort itself is worth it because of the different award or because of this order of national artists. Nakikilala sila kapag na bumibigay sila ng isang contribution sa ating bansa. So, by that contribution, they can bring their name in that certain art. So what are those arts that eventually can seek in this order? So, the areas, and to be specific, the areas of the art, we have visual arts, dance, music, architecture, design, allied arts, broadcast and film, theater and literature. That is focus of the order of national artists. So meaning to say, you can contribute in the genre of visual art, you can contribute in the dance, music, architecture, design, or so on and so forth. That is in this kind of award. So let's start by knowing the artists and pertaining to their contribution in the music. Particular area, we have music. So the first one there is, Antonino arben Aventura. So what are those work or arts that basically contributed by Antonino? It said that the research on and popularized Philippine folk song and dances in 1935. So that is the first work of Mr. Antonino. So he wrote songs and musical arrangement based on the folk song. So basically, the art of or the genre of the music that contributed by Buenaventura is pertaining on the folk songs. So he was also the conductor of Philippine Army Band. So with his lead, the Philippine Army Band was tagged as the only band that can sound like a symphony orchestra. So that was the first two work of Mr. Buenaventura. But the list of the marches or notable marches of Mr. Buenaventura are this. The work would be History of Fantasy, Triumphal March, Echoes of the Past, Second Symphony in E flat, Ode to Freedom, and Echoes from the Philippines. So that is the work of Mr. Benaventura pertaining to notable marches. While not only with that, Benaventura also gave a contribution, or he contributed in the orchestral music composition. What are those? We have Prelude and Fugue in G minor, Philippine Triumphant, Symphony in C major, and Mindanao Sketches. And lastly, we have Concert Overture. So that is the contribution of Mr. Benaventura pertaining to orchestral music composition. So aside from Benaventura, we also have Jose Maceda. So his lifelong musical career focuses on popularizing Filipino traditional music. If Jose focusing on the Filipino traditional music, Benaventura is focuses on the folk song. So his papers led to the understanding and appreciation of the ethnic and traditional music from the Philippines. So what are those major works of Mr. Maceda? We have other works include Legend of the Sarimanok, Philippine Scene, Her Son, Ang Pamana, Jose, Sisa, awit ng mga awit ng Psalms, Fantasy on the Fourth Note Theme is meets Jazz Ethnica. So that was the works that was the contributions of Mrs. Calisag. Okay, Mrs. Casilag, sorry, Mrs. Lucrecia Casilag. So let's now continue for another person that contributed in the Philippine art. We have Hernani J. Kwenko. He is one of the remarkable singer, composer, field scorer, and musician. His song etched a mark in the heart of the Filipinos due to his style of incorporating kundiman elements in his ballad love song. So meaning to say, if the other contributors have their specific genre, Hernani or Mr. Kwenko also has a certain genre. So what is this? We have kundiman, elements of kundiman, and he combined it to his ballad love song. So Kwenko was a cellist for 5 years in Manila Symphony Orchestra and a soloist for 2 years in Manila Chamber of Orchestra. He was also a professor in the University of Santo Tomas. So what are those popular works included by the contribution of Mr. Kwenko? We have Bato sa Buhangin, Bulong ng Puso, Kalesa, Gaano Kita Kamahal, Diligin Mo ang Hamog, Ang Uhaw ng Lupa, Nahan, Kahit na Magtiis. So that was the title of those song or works created by Mr. Kwenko. So we also have Mr. Lucio San Pedro. So Mr. San Pedro is a master composer known for creatively using folk idioms in his musical compositions. He extracted the Filipino essence and style from the folk materials and used them in his composition. He produced numerous works like song, orchestra, composition, chamber music, and cantatas. So what are those famous songs that eventually created by this man? We have Sa Ugoy ng Duyan, Lulay, and aside from his famous song, he also contributed in the orchestral composition. We have Eastern Cantata, Sa Mahal Kong Bayan, orchestral work like for example, The Devil Bridge, Malakas at Maganda, Maganda Overture, and Hope and Vision. We, Mr. San Pedro also contributed in band musical composition. He contributed in the dance, like for example, the work that contributed by Mr. San Pedro are Dance of Fairies, Lahing Kayo Manggi, and he was the conductor of 3 bands, namely Band of Angono, Banda Angono Numero 1, and the San Pedro Band of Angono. So that was the work that has been contributed by Mr. Lucio San Pedro. Sorry. So that is it. So let's proceed now to another person. We have Antonio J. Molina. So Antonio J. Molina, he is a notable contribution to the Philippine music is he used folk music in his works. He innovated the Philippine music in his time by using folk instruments like kulintangan and gabang. He also composed more than 300 works. Two-thirds was involved in orchestral music. His works involve orchestral music. So what are those music or what are those contribution that Mr. Molina created in the orchestral music? So his work involved orchestral music like Ang Batingaw, Kundi Man Kondangan, The Living World, Hating Gabi, Kung Sa Iyong Gunita, Malikmata, We Were Moonlight, Dancing Fool, Amihan, Awit Maria Clara, Larawan Nitong Pilipinas. He established also the Rondalia ideal, known as the last musical triumvirate along other musicians, namely Nicanor Abelardo and Francisco Santiago. So that was the contribution of Mr. Molina in the Philippine art pertaining to the music. So let's go now to another person. I know some of you already know with this guy kasi nakikita din natin siya sa television. So sino ito? We have Francisco Feliciano. He is a musician, composer, teacher, conductor, known for incorporating genres in his music. He created unique musical works by transforming, and his operas and orchestral works has unique musical language, carrying contemporary that uses modal scales. So what are those major works pertaining or work that contributed by Mr. Francisco Feliciano? We have Sihay sa Kabila ng Paalam, La Loba Negra, Pokpok Alimaco, Pamagun, Yerma, and Ashen Wings. So that was the major works that contributed by Mr. Feliciano in the Philippine art pertaining to the music. So let's go now to another person. Of course, we have Levi Celerio. So Mr. Levi plays violin when he was 11. Lyricist and wrote a wide range of songs of different themes. He composed an estimate of 4,000 musical works. Lyricist, Ang Pasko Ay Sumapit, siya pala yun. Writing songs for Filipino movies, collaborated with Lucio San Pedro and Hernani Kwenko, known for using a lift. So what are those famous pieces that contributed of Mr. Levi Celerio? We have Sa Ugoy ng Duyan, Dahil sa Isang Bulaklak, Saan Ka Man Naroroon, Ang Pipit, Kung Tayo'y Magtanim, at Kalesa. So that was the contributions that contributed by Mr. Levi Celerio. Okay, let's now proceed to another person contributed in the Philippine art. We have Ramon Santos. So what are those highlights in this contribution? Of course, he is the Asian and Philippine rich artistic tradition and features element from Western and non-Western areas. He combined Philippine indigenous instrument and vocals to orchestral instrument and other instrument, especially Javanese and gamelan. So what are those works of Mr. Ramon Santos? He composed works that interweave Asian culture, drama, poetry, and dance like for example, Sandiwaan, Daragang Magayon, Tao, Awit ni Pulao. Okay, so that was the work that contributed by Mr. Ramon Santos. Aside from that, he is also a popular unique composition in the song Kulintang. So that was the work contributed or the contribution of Mr. Ramon Santos in the Philippine art. Okay, let's proceed to another person again. We have Miss Jovita Fuentes. So she is a remarkable Filipino artist known for her portrayal of Shosho San In, Madame Butterfly by Giacomo Puccini. So which was held in Teatro Municipal di Piacenza in Italy. So he was awarded in Spain as a Embajadora de Filipinas as su Madre Patria. So that was the award given by Jovita Fuentes. So remember that one. She was also a founder of the Artists Guild of the Philippines, which periodically produced the tour of Operaland. So aside from that, she was an educator of music at the University of the Philippine Conservatory of Music. Good morning. Santa Isabel College and College of Holy Spirit. So that was the contribution of Miss Jubeta Fuentes. Okay, let's proceed now to another person contributed in the Philippine art. So he is Felipe Padilla de Leon. He is the people's musician for the sentiments and aspiration of the Filipino people in times of war and of peace are evident in his musical works. So aside from that, Felipe Padilla de Leon also focused on the orchestral music. So what are those orchestral music that contributed by Felipe? We have Mariang Makiling Overture, Roca Encantada, and aside from orchestral music, Felipe Padilla de Leon also contributed in the symphonic works. So what are those? He contributed the Maynila Overture, Orchestra Stock. So that was the work of Felipe Padilla in the symphonic works. So we also have Felipe Padilla de Leon also contributed in choral music. So aside from orchestral music, symphonic works, he also contributed in the choral music. Okay, so what are those works that has been contributed by Felipe Padilla de Leon? We have Payapang Daigdig, Ako ay Pilipino, Bulaklak, Mutya ng Lahi. So that was the work of Mr. Felipe Padilla de Leon in the Philippine art pertaining to the music. So now, let's continue again to another person. We have Andrea Veneracion. Andrea Veneracion, she played a significant part in the development of the Philippine choral music. She was the founder of the world-renowned choral group, the Philippine Madrigal Singers. So that was one of the contribution of Miss Andrea Veneracion. The madrigals contributed in the development of the choral literature and a movement throughout the Philippines. So Andrea Veneracion is one of the founder of the world-renowned as choral group, the Philippine Madrigal Singer. So that was the person or the Philippine artist behind the work contribution in the Philippine contemporary art. So I hope you understand and I